We are about to start with the expert panel, Perspective on AR Education. We have a wonderful group of experts in AR education today. And now we'd like them all to turn their cameras on. And what we will do in the expert panel, we have 3 parts. I would like to start with 2-minute introductions by each panelist. And in these 2 minutes introductions, they can introduce themselves and what kind of teaching they are involved in or how they are related to teaching AR skills and higher education in general. Then in the second part, we've prepared very few big questions to the panels to discuss related to AR education. That should take around half an hour. And then the second half an hour will be dedicated to the questions from the audience. So if the panelists are ready, we are starting with the round of introductions. Our first panelist is again Mark Billinghurst. Maybe you can just introduce yourself and your teaching very quickly in a couple of minutes.
Sure, thanks. I guess most of you heard from the course the keynote I just gave, but I've been teaching since 2002 a number of university courses in AR and VR. And you know, it's got much easier since those early days now to teach those courses, which is great. We've run regular summer schools, typically 1 week-long summer schools, University of South Australia, Canterbury and Auckland. I've also done a range of short courses at conferences like SIGGRAPH and CHI and ISMA, and then I've contributed to some open source education tools through the AI Toolkit library I talked about before. Most of the content I teach, I put onto the SlideShare presentation tool, and then I've written a few Medium blog posts that I should write more of. So I guess I've been teaching in a wide range of different ways. And one of the most important things I've learned is that when you're teaching, you should always teach to the student's skills and ability and try and extend them through that as well. So it's a really great time to be involved with teaching AR and VR now because you have much better tools and it's much easier to teach as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Now we are going to our second panelist, Sumathi Subramaniam. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, Mikhail, and hello, everyone. I work as a policy officer at the European Commission, and in particular on STEM higher education policy. Now, in this context, the Commission appreciates the interest in this topic, which it sees as of very high priority, especially in the context of the European Green Deal priorities and also the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So very important for sustainability, leveraging green and digital skills, ICT skills. So the Commission supports the call to advance higher education policy and practice to contribute in this field. As part of the STEM higher education policy, you will find that recent communications from July and September, the skills agenda, the European education area, European research area, and the digital education action plan all acknowledge advanced ICT skills and also in particular increasing STEM graduates, ICT engineering graduates in fields such as augmented reality, virtual reality, AI, cybersecurity, robotics, cryptocurrency, and so on, and in attracting more female students to these fields and transitioning to STEM occupations. In addition to eliminating gender stereotypes, gender bias, encouraging gender-sensitive teaching practices and learning material. In addition, there is an emphasis on new and innovative curricula, programs, and micro-credentials in this context. As I mentioned, the link to education for environmental sustainability, so how you can leverage these fields for this purpose, for climate change, for sustainable development, both AR for education and AR in education. I would say it's a mix. And reinforcing the role of higher education in boosting interactions between education, research, innovation, and service to society. The Commission is also emphasizing the links between policy areas that have an impact on higher education, such as employment and regional development policy. So this is where your current project comes in. Also, you've been looking at labor market needs regional development, I guess, and the gaps and mismatches, and how augmented reality may be used to address the skills gaps and skills matches by combining these different policy areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumathi. Let's go to our next panelist, Avgoustos.
Hello, everybody. Hello from Greece. My name is Avgoustos Tsinakos. I came from the Computing Science Department of Hellenic University, International Hellenic University, and I am directing the AETMA lab. It's a research lab located in Kavala, Greece. We have established this research lab on 2016, and we are trying to be highly active on the area of augmented reality and educational applications, technology enhanced learning in general, focusing on mobile AR and mobile learning. We have almost 40 people behind the AETMA lab and some excellent researchers. We managed during the last 2 years to deal with augmented reality projects. Just an example, for 2000 and until 2023, we managed to participate in 5 augmented reality projects with an overall budget of almost 2.5 million euros. And one of the best, let's say, establishment of the AETMA lab is the what we like to call a European master's degree on immersive technologies, innovation in education, training, and game design. We are planning to start this program on October 2021. The program will be offered via distance, and it will be in English. And our target group will be worldwide, since it will be based on a synchronous mode of distance education. And what we are looking for out of this program is to, let's say, build skills or enhance some knowledge of researchers related to augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and game design that can be applied either in, let's say, educational sector or industry sector, or even research. And our main goal is to create a critical mass of scientists, researchers, and universities that plays a key role in Europe or worldwide related to augmented reality and offer high quality of education around this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Avgoustos. Let's introduce our next panelist. Ferhan, please.
Hey, everyone. This is Ferhan Ozkan from XR Bootcamp. First of all, thank you for all this organization and the Code Reality initiative. From the beginning, we are proud to be here in this event and in this initiative. So we as XR Bootcamp is actually a part of VR First. Maybe actually I'm seeing some names here that we are starting to the whole VR AR initiative back in 2015 to democratize VR AR in universities. So we had the chance to work with headset manufacturers, many different partners to create labs together with the universities and seed support them, and then give them some opportunities from training to education and hackathons and joint projects. So we have the chance to seed support over 50 universities so far in the last 5 years. And for the last 1 year, we are focusing on an interesting program for us, which is called XR Bootcamp, that we are helping the industry to close the XR skills gap. So our programs are usually aiming for either last year students or graduates, but most importantly, of course, the professionals coming from different verticals. And we have beginner and advanced level VR AR courses. We have one focusing on advanced VR interactions and hand tracking. As far as we know, this is the like the most advanced course out there, especially for professionals. So the main idea is to designate the XR skills that majority of the industry needs right now. So we have formed an industry board, advisory board from many companies, from Accenture, KLM, Deutsche Telekom, BNP, Oracle, Verizon. So all these companies are coming together. Actually, we have a meeting tomorrow as well. So every month we are actually updating the skills requirement of the industry, and based on that we are creating classes. And this class, the one that you are seeing right now, is also one of them. The class is mostly of course everything is remote, but mostly focusing on creating an AR remote application. And at the end of 5 weeks you are both learning the design and development part. And this class is actually being created by the engineers and designers of T-Mobile, Deutsche Telekom. And what we are actually doing with universities is, since we are positioning ourselves as a skill-to-job organization, which is helping the talents to be ready for their next XR role, XR job, XR project. So we are actually working with universities to bring these programs on top of their existing game, VR, AR education as a certificate. So I could share more details, but thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Ferhan. Let's switch to Manuela.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mikhail. I'm from the University of Genova in Italy. And this is the presentation of computer graphics and augmented reality course. It is a course taught by me, Enrico Pupo and Fabio Solari. And we are three, since this course is as a three main course. One is a computer vision part. Then we have a quite strong computer graphics part. And the slides try to summarize the rationale behind this course. So we start from images, and we must gain knowledge from these images. So this is why we have computer vision, in order to understand the 3D world. Then we have the counterpart, so starting from the knowledge, going towards the images, so producing computer graphics contents. And putting everything together, we try to give all the instruments to build augmented reality application. So our course has two main goals. On the one hand, we would like to make the students to understand the theory behind augmented reality application. And on the other hand, we have a strong practical part. So we try to make the students understand how to really build an augmented reality application. This course is in the master degree in computer science. It is an international master degree. And so our students are mainly computer science students. And this is why we have these two parts, one theoretical part and one more practical part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manuela. Now we are going to Marius.
Hi, hello everybody. So yeah, I'm Marius Preda. I'm in a school that is called Télécom Sud Paris, which is part of IMT and Institut Polytechnique de Paris. And mainly I'm coming from computer graphics world. So I'm in a laboratory that is dealing in general with images, image processing, computer vision and computer graphics. And yeah, as many of you here today, trying to put all this together to offer to students something that is called virtual and augmented reality. But let's say that my main interest in AR, and probably we will discuss that in the panel, is that in my opinion, AR is mature enough today to be possible to formalize. So my point is that I would like to be part and to have the community involved in formalized that are open, and not lose the time that we lose with interactive web in the past when we had to use proprietary formats. Now is much better because we are using open formats on the web, so probably the community is able to start working on open formats for augmented reality. But that is more on the research side. But on the teaching side, yeah, we start this year. Actually, this is the first promotion that we have on this Master 2 on virtual and augmented reality. And yeah, as many other programs, what we are doing here, because our students are computer science, coming from the computer science, we have this chain of image processing, starting from computer vision, understanding the environment, of course, visual and other kind of modalities as well, and up to computer graphics. But human-computer interaction is also part of it. Then we have a module on a particular kind of robotics, which are the social robotics, and of course, going up to direct technologies used directly in virtual and augmented reality. And as was mentioned before, we have this trade-off between more fundamental theoretical courses and very practical usage of tools to create these kind of applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marius. Now we go to Matthieu.
Hi everyone, I'm Matthieu Poyade. I am the pathway leader of the master degree in medical visualization and human anatomy at the Glasgow School of Arts and jointly with the Glasgow University. I am also the secretary of the European Association for Extended Reality. So at the Glasgow School of Art, I'm working in a small school, which is the latest one that was added to the family, which is called the School of Simulation and Visualization. It's hard to say, just as in these, it's easier. I'm also a lecturer in HCI, VR, and AR in a master degree about visualization. So one of the main challenge of this master degree is that it's having 5 different pathway which includes students with different skill sets. So one of the pathways is serious game and virtual reality, which very probably include the student with most technical specialized skill sets. And then I've got other pathways like heritage visualization and medical visualization, which usually tend to include students which are specialized in life science or in archaeology. Now I have to teach jointly HCI, VR, and AR to these students, and this is kind of a big challenge because the course, I must ensure that the course is challenging enough for the students with engineering background, and it's not too challenging but still motivating enough for the students which don't have engineering background. So that's a quite interesting balance that I should try to set up every year when I'm designing the curriculum of the course. Then something else which is quite interesting right now, which is the current global pandemic we are currently in, is impeding most of the virtual reality work in laboratory. Therefore, there's a switch toward mobile VR on one hand, but also there's a switch toward augmented reality on mobile technology, because everybody nowadays own, or almost everybody nowadays own a phone which is able to display or to render the augmented reality imaginary. So that's something which is quite interesting. So the course is about to start in January again. I'm running this course since 2013, and I'm not going to lie to you, since 2013 I've been required almost every year to redesign the course, to incorporate new technology, to incorporate new things in order to make it more challenging and more interesting for my students. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matthieu. Now, I would like to ask to the panel 2 experts from the Code Reality team, Fridolin and Ralf. Please, just a few words.
Good morning and hi from Oxford. I'm Fridolin Wild. I'm a professor at leading the Open University's Performance Augmentation Lab. We're based in the Institute of Educational Technology of the Open University. I'm also the STM of the AR4U project behind Code Reality, the science and technology manager in charge of the overall strategy behind the 2 course programs that we have built. I have initiated this project with the colleagues, with Mikael, with Ralf, with others, Judith, and probably more that are on this call some years ago, so that we can consolidate the way we teach augmented reality, in particular, how we can kind of fill in the gaps, as we have noticed that it takes more than typically one of us could have contributed. And I'm very proud that we are now in a situation where we have a good plan of what it takes, what is required by the market, and the resources also available. Ralf, over to you.
Thanks, Fridolin. So, hello from my side. I'm Ralf Klamma from RWTH Aachen in Germany. So we are a technical university. I'm a computer scientist, and we are member of this consortium, but we also teach mixed reality, augmented reality in Aachen. So I teach it within my master classes, web science and social computing. And we also developed a lab for bachelor students. So together with my colleague Benedict Hansen. As we have already heard, we are also facing COVID-19 related issue. Yeah, so we have a small class. Yeah, so to give all the students hands-on experience to augmented reality, virtual reality devices. But in the moment, yeah, so we are also going virtual. Yeah, so teaching virtual augmented reality in a virtual way. That is a sign of the times. Myself, yeah, so I think I'm an innovative teacher, yeah. So my children always say, "Okay, boomer," yeah. So and somewhere between, I would locate myself. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I would like to go back to the part where we start discussing the topic at hand. Now, the first question I would like to ask the panelists is, how is the demand for AR skills changing, and how do you adapt your teaching? I would like to start again with Mark, because I think you have a lot of experience and you've started teaching almost 2 decades ago. So maybe you can give us a short reflection on how the demand for skills has been changing.
Thank you so much. Well, I think we've seen a shift in skills demand from in the old days when I first started teaching. There was an emphasis on skills and programming and low-level computer vision, and now we're seeing more people wanting skills for mobile AR experiences, also web-based development as well. And in terms of adapting the teaching, we've really emphasized more teaching about creating the whole AR experience and evaluating the AR experience, because it turns out there are many companies now that are producing toolkits that make it much easier to build AR experiences. And so we don't have to focus so much more now on teaching how to do the low-level programming or low-level development. We can focus more about the user experience, which hopefully addresses the skills in the industry. Seems to be a skill shortage around people who can actually create compelling AR experiences. For example, the Pokemon Go game that we saw a couple of years ago was a very successful mobile game that had AR elements, and you know, technically it wasn't that difficult to build that, but it was a fantastic combination of content and user experience. So I think that's what we're trying to teach to now.
Thank you very much, Mark. I would like to ask now, Matthieu, you mentioned in your introduction that you are adapting your teaching almost each year. Can you just say a little bit more about that adaptation process, and also if you are following the demand from the industry, or if you are just updating to the new technology, how do you deal with that?
Well, I'm trying to adapt on free field. I'm trying to adapt first of all on the feedback of the students, so what they would like exactly to be taught. Then I'm trying to adapt from the development of the hardware technology, and also I'm adapting as a function of the development of the software industry. So for example, I remember when the first time I came in to teach something about augmented reality, I was using a tool that was called AR Toolkit. And I was running this on my computer and on OpenGL. So it was, the mobile industry was not well settled yet. And then little by little, with the development of, I would say, user-friendly programming platform like Unity, with the development of mobile technology, so augmented reality, the teaching of augmented reality became a bit more user-friendly and therefore more democratized. Then a few years ago, I was only focusing on teaching using Vuforia. And then little by little, I was afterwards focusing on using AR Foundation. Then not so long ago, I came with some platform that does not require any programming, so which is quite good for the students who don't feel comfortable programming. So I'm thinking, for example, on Artivive, which is a great platform for students with creative background. So I would say, yeah, I'm trying to maintain to keep my teaching a bit challenging for the students, but I have also to make the teaching compelling, appealing for the students, but also the outcome of that teaching must be competitive for the job market, which means when the students are going to seek for a job, they need to have acquire a skill set that make them competitive for the job market as well. So it's a balance that we need that need to be reached on a yearly basis.
All right. Thank you, Matthieu. I would like to ask Ferhan, you work very close to the industry. Maybe you can tell us, how do you see that change in demand for skills?
Thank you, Mikhail. I mean, we are not teaching AR for decades, so maybe this this question can be answered much better than with the other panelists. But what I can say that we have a very dynamic curriculum that even any update or development of AR Kit, AR Core, AR Foundation, Unity is directly affecting our next cohort, which we are, since we have cohorts every 2-3 months, we get the chance to actually change the curriculum because it is already being maintained and used by our trainers, and we have the flexibility to bring that to the curriculum. One example now for the next cohort, which will start on February, that we will bring immediately the LiDAR and all these use cases to the curriculum. And it is important for us because we know that our audience wants to immediately start using the new depth features of ARKit, ARCore, and other SDKs. So it is important for us. So I can say that this is whenever there is a very popular and important SDK making changes, drastic changes, we are immediately trying to adapt. And so thanks to our trainers that they are immediately trying to bring that as a class material to students and professionals.
Okay, thank you. I hear the call for an immediate adaptation of new technology into the teaching. Fridolin, I know that you are a big fan of AR skills. Maybe you can have something to add here as well.
Sure. So I think as university educators, it's also a little bit our role to make sure that we mediate the interests in the right way. Of course, if you look at what CPD programs in industry would like to have, then they are very practical, they're very hands-on, but they're not necessarily something that is then in the interest of the learners, of our students, because we should equip them with a way of having something longer lasting, having longer lasting foundations that enable them to build additional knowledge into an existing frame of reference that they have built up in their studies. So I think it would be a mistake to only listen to what industry wants, and we need to look ahead more long term, 5 years, 10 years, and not just at the short term interests. That's what we try to do in the AR curriculum working group as well. And if we take a look a little bit later at it, we will see that there are in fact some skills groups that are very long lasting, like for example the capability to properly evaluate, or information about human perception and how it works and how it can be hacked. these things are important and build the theoretical fundament on which you can integrate new technologies at ease. And we all know from research and research programs, which I offer, for example, which I think most of us here at university level do offer, what's in the pipeline, what's coming to the market, sometimes takes decades until it's finally out there. And there is a lot more to come that you would see as research prototypes. For example, augmentation of taste. I have tried a virtual cocktail experiment where you place an electrode on your tongue and get a scent of perfume into your nose to make you believe that the mineral water you're drinking is actually a cocktail. It was an interesting experience, definitely not something that I think would be mass produced next year. And there are other types of augmentations for other senses that have been prototyped for ages, but they're not yet there, like haptic displays maybe, or I remember from my school days, from my secondary school days, scent machines. This is all a question of when it hits the market then. And if we teach in a research-driven way, also looking ahead, far ahead, beyond the next 2-3 years, then an education is going to have a much more lasting effect.
Thank you, Fridolin. And since we started talking about the long-term effect and planning, I would like to ask if Sumathi can actually reflect a little bit more. And you mentioned in your introduction some of the importance of the advanced ICT skills. Can you talk a little bit about the planning and long-term planning from the policy perspective?
Yes. You mentioned about the figures, the ICT specialists in Europe. Skills forecast, skills demands show that ICT specialists are very few in number across all countries. So if we just take ICT specialists, it's just graduates, it's 3% male, 1% female. There is a demand in almost every country. Specialists on EU average is 3.1%, and we see that employers are mostly asking for ICT specialists. Now then, on the other hand, you have the shift in the economic model that Europe is undergoing right now, which is towards more sustainability. The EU Green Deal has 9 priorities. So what we need to do is to take the skills that AR and other advanced technologies offer and to see how we can marry them with the sustainability agenda. So that's where the skills agenda is going. And in this case, we have the skills agenda, we have the digital education action program. All of these work on a time frame of 7 years or more. And you will find that we're looking into updating the skills portfolios. We're looking into making skills passports. There are a number of actions in both of these communications that came out. So the skills agenda came out in July, and the digital education action plan came out in September, on September 30th. So you will find that there is one on the digital education content framework that we're developing, which is long-term action. There is another action on ethical guidelines on, for example, artificial intelligence and data usage for educators. There is another action on tackling disinformation. I can see AR education coming into all of this. Competence framework, and as I said, there will be an update on that. The digital skills certificate. This action in particular, you may find interesting because we will be trying to see what skills need to go into these passports. And also there is a digital opportunities traineeships, which will be expanded to take into consideration teachers as well as more students and graduates, and the VET line as well. I can keep going on, but I think I'll stop here. So look out for our programs. The Erasmus program will come up with new curricula development offers, and as well as Digital Europe program and the Horizon Europe programs. All of these will have calls in these areas. A last point that I would like to touch upon is the role that higher education institutions will play in the COVID-19 and as we come out of it. We need more courses, micro credentials that professionals can just latch onto and take in a short time, flexible courses that may be offered by universities for the upskilling, for the reskilling, and for continuous professional development. So some of I've heard industry talk today, the partnership with higher education institutions on the offer of this would be very interesting. And the Commission is working on a European approach for micro-credentials. Your input here would be very valuable. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you very much, Sumathi. And I would like to switch to the next big question here and start talking about who are your students, who wants to learn AR skills? And in general, is there enough demand for learning these skills? And I would like to start with Manuela, as you are teaching in a very technical computer science program. We just heard some elaboration from Matthieu, who is teaching in the School of Art. Maybe you can give us a different perspective on the students and the demand.
Yes, okay. Who wants to learn AR skills? Basically, I teach in a computer science master degree. So the answer is computer science students. And it may be obvious, but not only, since AR skills are needed in many different contexts. So not only computer science guys, so computer science girls, but just to give you an example, there is an high demand of AR skills, for example, in bioengineering students. We have a lot of bioengineering students since there are many applications that are not only the classical computer science application, but also the biomedical application. Just to give you an example, we have a collaboration with a simulation center here in Genova, a medical simulation center, and they are highly exploiting augmented reality in order to improve the results and the effectiveness of training in medical context. So there is an high demand also in contexts that at the first view are not augmented reality contexts. So it is something that is nowadays really multidisciplinary. Just to give you other example, there is a high demand not only from the industry, from the company, so from the classical industrial context, but also in again in the context of medical context. For example, to have multimedia tools for elderly, for so augmented reality in order to augment the environment in some specific context, like elderly or people living alone, so to have exergame and tools like this. So our experience is that yes, computer science students want to learn AR skills, but they would like to have a tool to produce multidisciplinary applications. And another experience that we have is I can say last but not least, people not from technical, not with technical expertise, but for example, people with a more classical educational skills. For example, from the museum applications, so to build augmented reality application for literature, for enjoying paintings, museum application, and so not technical, but also more fields from the literature, from history, historical application, archaeological applications. So there is a master degree here in Genova that tends to combine these different skills, and there is a high demand of augmented reality tools and skills from this part of people.
Thank you very much for the detailed explanation and your point of view, Manuela. I would like now to ask Marius, since you have been teaching AR in the context of an online course and also in a normal traditional university course, do you see a difference in the participants who are the participants or students there, or do you see a difference in the demand for different skills?
Yeah. I would like to continue on the same spirit that Manuela introduced. There is no one single profile. There are different people with different expectations. And yeah, of course, we have this, because we are in the world of computer science students, for sure they would like to know the tools, but they also want to understand how the tools works. And this is why we give some foundations on trying to understand how the tools works. But there is another population which is much larger. Is not the population that is currently following the courses in computer science, but it's much larger, which actually they want just to use the tools. Of course, they want to understand how they work, but is more to understand what are the limits of the tools, and they would like to apply that tools in different domains. Yeah, Manuela mentioned about literature. Someone else mentioned about medical imaging. There are plenty of application domains where these tools should be used. And I think that when we announce a learning content, we have to make it clear for who it is. And just coming back to the first question, if if we change our manner to teach, indeed we have to. I don't think that the demand necessarily, of course it increased, but also it becomes more clear what the industry wants. In general, the industry wants people to know how to quickly develop things. It's our duty to also give them some fundamental knowledge about the tools, and in the same time to make sure that they are able to also learn quickly new tools, because new tools will come. The tools we'll have today will, or even if it's the same tool, the functionalities of the tools of today have nothing to do with the functionality of the tools that we'll have in 2-3 years. So we have to make sure that what we teach people is not only to use a tool, but also to understand how that tool works and what the new functionality will be. So to answer to this question, indeed, I really believed that the population is different. We had the chance to see the two kind of population, because we had our academic courses, but we also have this open Coursera classroom where we have people with no technical background, and how this can be solved is to offer easy to use tools.
Thank you very much, Marius. And I would like also to ask Ferhan, in your experience from XR Bootcamp, what kind of participants do you have? What kind of skill requests they have? And is there enough demand from your point of view?
Yeah, on our side, actually, Sumathi mentioned, our plan is, of course, like going into the deep is very important from a research and university perspective, but we are seeing ourselves like creating a skills based micro program. That our program is designed for even full-time employees, so they can take the class by only committing a few hours per week, and they can finish in 5 weeks. Of course, they need to commit for assignments and other stuff, but we are purely concentrating on what skills that they need for their next project. For research and other stuff, we have open lectures that we have guest lecturers from Microsoft Research, HoloLens team, Magic Leap team, that they are actually lecturing, which can be found in our YouTube channel. So from our side, what we see is in terms of professionals, it comes from any different verticals or industry. And this is actually interesting because in our last masterclass, we teach them how to create an AR remote support application for mobile AR. So there were over 10 different use cases. One of them is for insurance, the other is for transportation, the other is for medical. So we get the chance actually to bring all these use cases, and they can actually, the students have the flexibility to select their own use case, and they have the chance to implement their design, the mock-up and all the design perspective from a user perspective. And then they had the chance to actually implement by using the SDKs that we teach them in this short period of time. This was interesting, and they pitched to the actually industry. So the industry who already deployed this widely in their own company setting, they get the chance to get feedback for this. So it was interesting. And from a student perspective, most of the students coming from universities or maybe coding bootcamps, they are mostly either traditional coders or designers designing applications for mobile or web, who are maybe trying to level up to VR, AR, and I could definitely tell that there is huge demand. So our plan is to find a way with the help of maybe universities here to create this, and with the European Union to create this certificate program for a mass audience, like hundreds or thousands, and help them to find their next AR job or project or freelance opportunity. So I definitely think that there is enough demand. We just need to find the right certificate programs and implement this in a scalable way.
Thank you very much, Ferhan. We have to go to the next question that I've prepared. What topics and what AR skills are central in your curricula and why? And I would like to ask now, Avgoustos, you have just designed a new program and you've integrated an augmented reality course into that. Can you elaborate on what topics are central in your point of view in the AR course, and in what programs and in what specific type of program, study program, does this field fits best?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I have to say that I totally agree with what others have already said. I think that there is a major change on the demands of AR skills and people who are asking for those skills. Augmented reality, I think, does not only refer anymore to computing science. I think if we take the perspective of education, I think many teachers of different disciplinaries are quite interested on how to use augmented reality in education, even those who are lacking ICT skills, because they are acknowledging that augmented reality is a safe pathway to inclusive learning. So one of the target groups we recognize as a new master program is educators that are looking on, let's say, expertise on augmented reality with and easy ways of incorporating these new features in their everyday classes. Another aspect are researchers that are dealing with immersive technologies, not only for education, but for training, because there was one of the experts here mentioning VET. I think training and long life learning in different areas, industry or small companies, I think augmented reality can offer a really, let's say, vivid way of training and mastering new skills on their field. So this is another challenging area for us. And of course, game designers, I think designing games with immersive technologies might be a big thing for the future to come. And augmented reality and immersive technologies are going to change the world, the way that people interact, not only with computing interfaces, but the way they interact with the environment. So I can identify 3 different areas of people that are looking for this kind of skills. And that's how we designed this master program, to cover all those demands and needs. But we have to, let's say, keep in mind that making such technologies available, we should think of low cost and easy way of adopting these technologies. Otherwise, if we're, let's say, using technologies that are really expensive, I think not everybody can use them.
Okay, thank you very much, Avgoustos. I would like now to ask 3 panelists at the same time to give very short answers to the question, what topics are central? You are all teaching augmented reality in very different programs. So Manuela in computer science, Matthieu in the School of Art, and Marius in a program on virtual and augmented reality. What are the central topics that we must cover in AR course?
Can I start? Okay. Also looking at the chat, I have noticed right now that there are a lot of questions about new SDK, new libraries, open source versus non-open source libraries. What we try to give is to explain and to make the students understand the theory behind all the different libraries. So what I believe is that in order to effectively use all the libraries that are coming day after day, so every day there is a new library, what we would like to have is a course that teaches the theory. So, so the students can understand how to build an augmented reality application and which are the basics. And I believe that after that, they can effectively use the new libraries and then choose the right library with respect to the specific application they would like to build. Of course, we propose new libraries and we update our course by following the new libraries, but the focus of the course is to teach the basics, so the theory behind the augmented reality application.
Good. Matthieu?
Yeah, I think the many libraries that are coming every year onto the market, in a free fashion or in a paid fashion, is obviously one topic that deserves to be explored by the students. And as a lecturer, this is our role to help the student to understand this library. Then we need also to help the student to critically reflect on this library in order to help them to understand how this library can help them to develop their products in relation to the specific field of research that they are currently exploring. But then also there's something that I don't think have been mentioned before, which is when teaching AR, we should also teach other skills that are not related to AR. And one of these, 2 of these other skills are, first of all, storyboarding, and afterwards the creation of a coherent narrative. Because building an AR product for a student, it's not only just displaying something on a mobile device when you're showing a target or displaying something on the floor. No, in fact, the students aim at building an application which includes some AR component, which might not include only AR components, and this need to be, if I may say, nicely integrated, coherently integrated. And building this narrative around the AR content that the students have in mind is also part of our job.
Very good. Marius, a quick comment from you as well.
Yeah, actually, I will continue on what Matt mentioned. My design principle of this course is to help students to create meaningful AR applications. And yeah, we all know that the students have to understand what is computer graphics, what is computer vision, what is human computer interaction, and all this. But something that we also added is artificial intelligence. And why we did so is we want to give the tools to students to understand what is possible to understand from the environment and how this can be used to create meaningful AR application. The point is that creating AR applications is not a big deal. You take some tools and you do something, but create some meaningful AR application that either in the entertainment domain or in the industrial domain or whatever domain, that is much harder. And to do so, the students and any practitioner should understand the limits of the technologies, because it's always a kind of compromise between what we want to do if we have a nice storytelling and what we can do. And this is why we decide in this master course to introduce AI, which looks at the first sight some strange or somehow far from AR, but actually is not at all. And the point is AR, we cannot say call something AR skills. AR skills is actually a union of many skills, and this has some advantages. It means that these skills can be learned by other means, and also some disadvantages. But I think that we are more on the advantages side. It means that taking students from different with different profiles and adding some few new skills will make them good AR practitioners.
Thank you very much, Marius. I will skip one question and I would like to address the final question I had prepared for the panel. And I would like to start now with maybe Ralf and Mark to tell us a little bit on your perspective on curricula recommendations provided by international professional communities or expert committees and groups, and if you know of any that covers augmented reality and your opinion in general on that.
Okay, I start. Yeah, if I may. Yeah, so so this Erasmus Plus project gave us the opportunity to start an initiative together with international experts within the ACM community, which you know is the American Association of Computer Machineries. They do a lot of things for curriculum development, also like IEEE, which is counterpart of that on a global level. So so we have started a working group at the conference for computer science education, and many of you joined us. So and Mark can, I think, take over from now to also from his perspective to tell you a little bit what we have reached so far.
Right. Thank you. So I think it's really important to have standardization in curriculum development, because that means that people around, the employers know what the students are being taught. And the ACM has done a great job of establishing standard curriculums for a number of different topics like human-computer interaction. As Ralf was saying, over the last a few months, we've been developing an outline for a standard curriculum for AR that we've shared back, and hopefully that'll provide a good resource for universities to make sure that the students are being taught a common set of knowledge. I'm not sure how this will develop in the future, but for now, curriculums like this will mean that companies will have a certainty about what basic skills the students have, which is very, very important. And certainly the ACM curriculums in HCI and other topics have been very important for developing the whole industry. So I think this will be a great way to create a foundation for curriculum material going forward.
Thank you very much, Mark. I intended to ask Sumathi as well on that question. If you have any final comments, maybe you can share them with us.
Yes. you will see this, that there is already a push, the digital education program, as I said, which is upcoming next year, and also the digital education action plan communication. All of them do talk about advanced digital skills. AR is in this, entails this as well. There will be loads of consultations coming up on this, and I would appreciate to hear from all of you in these consultations. It would really help to identify what should go into the curricula and how fast this field is changing, and the need to work much more and in depth with industry to ensure, because curricular development takes a long time, but what is needed in terms of practice to ensure that students are picking up these skills as the job market is changing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sumathi. Unfortunately, we have to conclude our expert panel, and I